Hi guys, quick note for those watching this on YouTube. This is the full-length podcast, so it includes what you may have already seen, which is the two shorter videos that I put up yesterday while we were waiting for this one to upload. So if you've already watched the two short parts and you want to skip straight to the bit that you haven't seen yet, the timestamps are in the description and also timestamps are in the pinned comment. Thank you and enjoy the full episode. Hi everyone, and happy Nintendo Direct Day! Yes, it's the first Nintendo Direct presentation since the Switch actually launched. Of course, we've previously had the console Direct and Mario Kart Direct before the release date, but this is the first presentation since the console is out and in everyone's hands. If you're listening to this full-length episode, it was my first Nintendo Direct as an active channel covering Nintendo news, so this was a big one for me. I celebrated by making and releasing several videos throughout the day, and you are currently listening to a compilation of all the day's content put together. We'll be covering the significance of this game, the history of Donkey Kong, my live reactions to the Direct, and then breaking it all down with my thoughts after watching. It's going to be a great show, and we'll get right into it after I quickly read the introduction. Hi everyone, welcome to Daily Switch 2, a podcast covering everything related to Nintendo Switch 2 with at least one new episode uploaded per day to YouTube, Spotify and your favourite major platforms. My name is Sam and I've been a gamer since the 1980s. I've worked in the entertainment industry since I was a teenager, including as a games journalist, producer of gaming documentaries and shows, and I'm even programming multiple indie video games, including 4 which will be released on the Switch and hopefully Switch 2, so be sure to subscribe and follow the show for the world-exclusive news on those as they drop. However, I'm a gamer and Nintendo fan at heart, and this podcast is purely a passion project for me to talk about all the stuff that interests and excites me about this new system. It is not monetized or funded by any entity. It's completely unofficial and unbiased so that I can give my full, frank, honest opinions. So if you want to support me or just find out the best places to get these free daily episodes or to join our free members area where you can talk to me and leave suggestions and take part in monthly free giveaways to win official Nintendo prizes, all links are in the bio and at linktree/dailyswitch2. That's linktr.ee/dailyswitch2. Thank you so much, and back to the episode. So, as you will know if you've watched my latest YouTube video, I'm in the middle of reviewing and covering every single launch game title. And if you're listening on Spotify, you won't have yet heard because I had to stop editing the lengthy episode to make time to cover this Direct. But I did put out what I think is a really interesting shorter video on YouTube with a deep dive into some of the statistics of the launch games, such as the average cost, download size, physical availability, etc. of all the games. And by the way, don't worry, Spotify viewers, all those stats will be added to the end of the full-length episode, which you'll be getting either later tonight or tomorrow, depending on your time zone and how long it takes my potato computer to upload with slow internet. But I mention this because of the two main criticisms of the launch lineup is that despite there being 25 games available at launch, only 3 of them are system exclusive, and only one of them is a true first-party Nintendo title, that obviously being Mario Kart World, because, say it with me, sing it from the bleachers, Welcome Tour does not count as a real game, sorry. Donkey Kong Bananza then is a really important game. The second brand new, fully original, first-party Nintendo game on the system, and who better to take the reins of responsibility than Donkey Kong, Nintendo's first true mascot, who was famous even before Mario was either Super or named Mario. Many people, myself included, were desperately hoping that we'd get a new Mario platform game at launch. A 2D title would have been nice, a la Super Mario Bros. U at the launch of the Wii U, or even going back to Super Mario Bros. At the launch of the NES, or Super Mario World on the SNES. We've covered the forgotten controversies of the Super Nintendo system launch at length, but if you haven't heard it, I'd really recommend checking out that episode. It's probably my favorite that I've put together so far, not just because of nostalgia, but of how much history is truly repeating itself and how we can learn from comparing the two extremely similar launch periods that were super controversial. Super pun not intended, but it works. If you are discovering this podcast or channel brand new today, because you were searching for news and opinions on the Donkey Kong Direct, welcome. Maybe go check out that episode next on YouTube. It's the one with the Toys R Us thumbnail, and on Spotify, I think it's episode number 5. Either way, I think it can give quite a lot of context as to why this brand new Donkey Kong game is actually very important and could actually be make or break for Nintendo. But while a 2D Mario platformer would have been great at launch, we have very recently had the incredible Super Mario Wonder on Switch 1. And I think in this day and age, most people get the most excited for a 3D mascot platformer. And despite the absolutely excellent Bowser's Fury, we haven't had a true full 3D Mario platformer since Mario Odyssey, way back in the first year of the Switch. And what was that, like 8 years ago? An excellent game for sure, and one that surprisingly never received proper updates or DLC beyond that little balloon mode and the Labo VR tech demo no one played. If you did play it, let me know in the comments. I personally would love to see a proper VR headset from Nintendo, but I think that ship has probably sailed. Then again, I bought a Virtual Boy, so I'll buy anything. I think that many people assumed that because it's been so long since a real 3D Mario platformer, but Nintendo clearly was experimenting with true open world 3D for Mario with Bowser's Fury, that could only mean that a true full 3D Mario game was in the works for Nintendo Switch 2, and that may still be the case, of course. I'd wager that it probably is. Can you imagine if it had been completed and available in time for the console launch? I think many of the complaints over a lackluster launch lineup would have been quashed, and many Nintendo fans waiting to buy a system later down the line instead would have become first-day purchasers. But sadly, that wasn't the case, obviously. Here's where things become interesting, though. In the initial launch period, despite the negativity and grumbling online, much of it justified, the Switch 2 has sold over 4 million units, breaking multiple records and, on paper, proving an unqualified success. You can argue that it should have sold more units, with many long-term Nintendo fans waiting for more essential, in inverted commas, games to justify buying the system, given especially the heavy price of entry. But for now, Nintendo can be happy with the initial sales figures. Very happy. But, for context though, initial record-breaking sales figures don't really mean much in the long run. Look at the Sega Dreamcast, for example. Enormous record-breaking pre-orders and sales at launch, nothing but positive press, a very reasonable price point, a great launch lineup, a huge return to form in the eyes of the public after the missteps with the Saturn 32X and Mega CD. But Sega couldn't keep the momentum going long-term, and despite that literal multi-record breaking, unprecedented at the time success of the launch window, 18 months later, they'd crashed out of the console business entirely, to the astonishment of not just the rabid fans, but many industry insiders too. I remember the magazines at the time, even the multi-platform magazines, were just completely bewildered. Now, the reasons for that are complex and debatable, but it's just one of many examples from history where a console has a seemingly impressive launch sales-wise, but fails to keep the momentum going. Nintendo themselves had huge problems with software adoption on the Wii, one of their best-selling systems of all time, but the average consumer just wasn't actually buying games for the hardware, and Nintendo were in a dangerous financial position a couple of years after release, despite the console easily being the best-selling of that generation. The lack of attachment rate meant that it was unprofitable compared to the competition. Thank goodness for their handheld division saving them, not for the first time, thanks to the continued success of Pokemon. So, we have the launch of a new Nintendo console, the Switch 2, launching with a Mario Kart game as the only real system-selling exclusive. Now, sure, Mario Kart was by far the biggest selling game for the Switch 1, and it's bound to be an enormous seller this time around too. But many sales of Mario Kart go to that more casual audience that plagued the Wii, by people buying a system just to play in multiplayer at family gatherings and parties, but just stick with 1 or 2 games and not really support the growth of the system with the regular software sales that Nintendo needs. Many of their core fans are still sitting this generation out in inverted commas, or at least for now, until there are more Nintendo first-party games that they consider essential. What would be essential? For many, a Smash Brothers title would work, but that's not coming anytime soon, is it? Where would they even go after Ultimate? Surely the definitive title. Much the same problem there was with Mario Kart World versus the pretty definitive Mario Kart experience already out with 8 Deluxe. And in any case, Sakurai is working on Kirby's Air Riders, clearly a passion project and labor of love for him, but not the huge system seller that Nintendo needs in this early period. For others, a Metroid, F-Zero, or Star Fox would give reason to buy, but realistically, none of those are big enough franchises by themselves, despite what us Rapid fans may think. And there doesn't appear to be any whiff of them appearing anyway, except, of course, for Metroid Prime 4, which will be available on Switch 1 as well. So not an obvious reason to drop $600 to get the higher resolution in a few more frames. Same problem that Sony had with getting the adoption rate for the PlayStation 5 when the majority of the early must-buy games for the PlayStation 5 were also available on the PlayStation 4. And we're all seeing how this current generation of PlayStation and Xbox is panning out. What other franchises does Nintendo have? Well, Pikmin is unlikely to get a brand new title yet, considering how recently Pikmin 4 and even 3 Deluxe and the re-releases of 1 and 2 have been on Switch 1. Of course, the big three are Pokemon, Zelda, and Mario. We know what's happening with Pokemon. It'll be great to finally play the older game with smoothing patches, but the truly new game isn't coming out for a while. I can't see a brand new Zelda title shadow dropping in the next few months either, given how much Nintendo are pushing that people re-experience Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Link's Awakening, and Echoes of Wisdom. And I don't think we're even likely to get the long-rumoured release of the HD remastered Wind Waker and Twilight Princess games from the Wii U coming to Switch or Switch 2. Surely Nintendo putting GameCube Wind Waker out on Switch Online means that now it's basically cancelled, or indefinitely postponed, which is a shame. But so Mario it is then. A 3D Mario game in the next 3 to 6 months could really keep momentum going in a way that Nintendo desperately needs and turn around negativity and public opinion from the largest amount of their long-suffering, disgruntled, but ultimately loyal fanbase. Of course, Nintendo knows this, and if I had to bet on it, I'd say it's already long into development. Though, if history has taught us anything, it's that Mario games can take a long time to get to the required perfection for Nintendo to allow them to release. Let's not forget that the launch of the Nintendo 64 was delayed by nearly 2 years. Yes, partly due to hardware manufacturing issues, but also largely due to the extreme polishing of Mario 64 to make that delay worth the wait. It was, by the way, it's actually my second favorite game of all time, and I was there on day one. But the delayed release and the lack of significant other first-party games in the first few months of the console launch are basically the reason that Sony's PlayStation easily ran away with the win that generation. Cartridge costs, third parties, weird controllers, all the other usual complaint points would have been mitigated if the system had launched at the same time as Sony's console, with Mario 64 as day one, and then a regular stream of quality first-party titles in the launch window. Sadly, that didn't happen, and despite excellent eventual Nintendo games and even more excellent second-party games courtesy of Rare, the Nintendo 64 was a second-place system, maybe even third place in Japan, where the Saturn had an easier time of things and a longer lifespan. That slow launch window really hurt the Nintendo 64, and after 6 months of playing at Mario, maybe Wave Race, and not much else, many day one adapters of the console started to look elsewhere. That could very easily happen to Nintendo now with the Switch too. They need a Mario platformer, other major titles like a Zelda, a mainline Pokemon, preferably a Smash Brothers, and then sprinkled between their smaller but still prestige franchise titles like Metroid, Pikmin, Star Fox, F-Zero, Sheepy Robo, I don't know. And Animal Crossing would be great as well, but unless we have another pandemic requiring a worldwide lockdown, God forbid, Nintendo sadly won't recreate the lightning in a bottle success of New Horizons. That was clearly just a once-in-a-lifetime wave that Nintendo were lucky enough to ride through circumstances. And the Switch one had the major advantage of being able to steadily re-release the best games from the Wii U, because almost nobody bought them first time round. Muggins here did, but the Switch one's early library, therefore, was artificially inflated with quality first-party titles. They can't rest on their laurels if they want to match that success and sales attachment rate with the Switch 2. So, with no 3D Mario game announced, there is a huge hole in the required launch window. But here comes a new challenger. Had we all forgotten about Donkey Kong? Nintendo's first big success. Miyamoto's original creation. Before Mario, before Zelda, before Pikmin, he had Donkey Kong, and it was glorious. There have been times in the past when Donkey Kong was a true system seller. The original Famicom, Nintendo's first proper serious attempt at a games console hardware and what would obviously eventually be rebranded as the NES in the West, was originally designed specifically with the goal of being able to sell to the consumer on the promise of playing an accurate home version of Donkey Kong. When Nintendo's 16-bit console, the Super Nintendo, was flagging in the West and being outsold 3 years in a row by the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, was it a Mario or Zelda game that turned around the fortunes and eventually won the console wars sales-wise? No, it was Donkey Kong Country. Again, thank you, Rare. I struggle to think of other examples where DK was a true system seller and can think of many lesser entries, but I do have very fond memories of the launch of the Super Game Boy, where Donkey Kong 94 was the killer app launch game being used to demonstrate that system. And for my money, that's perhaps the finest 2D Mario game ever made. Fight me, bro. And it doesn't even have Mario in the title. In recent years, however, Donkey Kong has somewhat stagnated. Sure, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, to those in the know, is one of the absolute greatest 2D platform games of all time. But it and its still good but inferior and looking a little long in the tooth predecessor didn't exactly set sales figures ablaze when they were re-released on the Switch one. I would argue because of the extremely cynical overpricing, especially with Donkey Kong Returns. But now, here we are. Donkey Kong Bananza, not Bonanza, but Bananza. You see, it's a pun because Donkey Kong likes bananas. Oh, how we laughed. But this is no laughing matter. It's the first true 3D Donkey Kong platform game since the Nintendo 64, and this time, no expansion pack is required. When we don't have a 3D Mario game, can 3D Donkey Kong step in and fill Jumpman's shoes? I would argue quite possibly. The trailers and gameplay footage look very intriguing so far to me. Excellent character animation, just like in Mario Kart World, but this time with more opportunities to actually show it off because it's a platform game with cinematics. And really interesting looking digging mechanic. Is this Banjo-Kazooie X Minecraft? It remains to be seen. Anytime Nintendo takes such a risk and tries something new, I'm both excited and a little frightened. In the launch period of a system, we need a consistent, steady flow of safe, guaranteed crowd pleasers. Will Donkey Kong Bananza be the first true system-exclusive game from Nintendo that convinces more long-term fans to buy into the new console's ecosystem? I don't know. I hope so, and I think that by the end of today, we'll have a lot clearer idea of whether this game is likely to crown Nintendo as the king of the jungle. So, if you're listening on Spotify or any other audio-only platform, I'm about to start the portion of this episode where I watched the original direct back. If you want to sync up the video so you can watch it yourself at the same time, I made a click sound when it starts. So pause here, and I'm about to click. Okay, I think we should be starting any moment now. Click. Still love that click sound. So cruel and bleak. Interesting start. Somber, emotional. Cute little rock guy. I like the void tape on it. It's funny. emotional. So this is what I was saying before with Mario Kart World about how expressive these faces are. Look at them. This is almost like a Pixar movie. And with the emotions as well. Hell yeah. Who's this little rock buddy? I want to know more. Oh, color. Good. Got more saturation. Bananza. I love the beard made out of the bananas bunches. That's cool. What's that? Oh, she's adorable. Is that Pauline? Is that young Pauline? Did we already know that, or is that new? I don't know. I didn't watch the Treehouse. I just watched the original trailer.
Donkey Kong. However, just as he's about to enjoy the notable bananas, a sudden tempest sends him deep down.
Music's great. These graphics are fantastic. Oh, I love their reactions.
DK teams up with
Oddrock. But Oddrock is also Pauline.
A talented young singer named Pauline.
Gosh, she's so adorable. I love the little freckles.
And Pauline wants to find a way back home to the
Oh, look at her. Bless her.
One's wish will be granted by reaching the planet core. So the unlikely duo set off.
See, maybe I'm a typical man, but I do love it when you have like a game and you are charged with looking after a little girl or some kind of vulnerable character. Maybe that just appeals to something primal in my nature. So they just said all of the worlds exist underneath each other. So every new environment is like another world underneath the other world, like subworlds. That's cool. So it's not like separate levels as such. It's literally, if you dig down far enough, you'll be in another world. Is that right? Yeah, that's sick. It looks like there's a lot of flexibility with the destruction. Bananium gems. Oh, banana. Okay.
Let's take a look at some of the things this Kong can do.
It's interesting seeing the way he's dressed is kind of dungarees. I wonder, like, is this, with Pauline being young, is this Cranky Kong? Is this an old, is this the old Donkey Kong? I know Nintendo doesn't really do. That's cool. Yeah, it's just a bit like a butt smash, but yeah, that's pretty smart. Oh, I like that because it's just like Donkey Kong Country. I was worried that they'd move... Oh, and the hand slap from Donkey Kong Country as well. Yeah, see, I was worried that they would move too far away from Rare and almost pretend that the Rare games didn't exist, but no, this looks great. And the music. Yeah, the music is Donkey Kong Country music too. Fantastic arrangement as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that. The Mario Brothers 2. Yeah, I like... Oh, so you can take bits off the actual enemies as well. That's sick. Yeah, that's cool. Oh wow, and the water will even flow around when you move the... when you make paths for it, of course. That's neat. Yep. A little bit of a Cappy movement going on there. Yeah. Oh, sweet. Yeah, this is pretty cool. There's a lot going on, aren't there? There's a lot going on, isn't there? Oh man, so we're going like Tears of the Kingdom. You can actually kind of build stuff. Wow, okay. Okay, that's kind of neat. Reminds me of Masters of the Universe. Make music. Yeah, of course, because Pauline is a singer, canonically. And they had the Void Seal just like the Oddrock did at the beginning. I love how much variety there is in these worlds and how much color there is. I was worried that with the underground...
Carve your own path with DK's ability.
I was worried that with the underground parts, it might... we'll go a bit Minecraft where everything kind of looks the same once you dig down, but no, there's so much color and variety.
The many layers of the underground world are host to a variety of inhabitants.
Okay. Yeah, the graphic style is quite Donkey Kong Country, but almost like a kind of Pixar or DreamWorks.
Destructive tendencies.
That's neat.
It looks like
Rumby!
Donkey Kong and his
I'm Cranky Kong, oh my god!
are also venturing
So he's
into
not Cranky
layers of
Kong.
the world.
How are we working with this timeline, where you got a young Pauline and a how is this happening?
Call the underground world home. They're said to
Oh,
possess
these are so
ancient
cool
bonanza
looking.
powers.
See, if they were in a Pixar movie a few years ago, you wouldn't really question it.
By learning their bonanza
Oh,
powers,
look at her,
Pauline
she's
Singing
adorable.
can do something special.
Go on, girl.
She can make Donkey Kong transform
Nice.
with
Hulk
incredible
smash.
destructive power. Even hard terrain poses no problem.
Nice. So her singing inspires him, or it's literal magical singing? How magical are we going here?
DK can transform into a zebra.
Okay, pretty damn magical if you can transform into a zebra. Okay.
He can even breeze over water or crumbling pathways.
Okay.
That's the swift.
Can you transform into more animals? Are we going to go like Shantae, Game Boy Color Shantae?
Into an
Ostrich? Okay.
ostrich.
And you can fly. Nice.
Spread your wings and soar through the sky.
Dude, this is so beautiful. Look at it.
Use updrafts to
Look at
gain
the
more
color.
air.
And the detail and the draw distance. I didn't see any pop up there.
Enemies scattering. That's right.
That's kind of neat. That's a bit like in
Bonanza.
Mario 64 when you're on the
Transformations don't last long.
owl.
You can transform again by collecting gold
And again, this music is great.
and energy.
Bananagy. Bananagy. Okay.
You're not limited to when or where you transform, and you can swap between transformations. So get creative and use them as you adventure.
Okay, wow, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I like it. I wonder if that looks nice. Although I think the caustics were updating slower than the frame rate. Okay, we're going to have some Rule 34 going on here, aren't we? Grumpy Kong? I like him. I like his design. He's cool.
Poppy Kong is responsible
Poppy.
for subterranean info gathering.
Okay. Okay.
Void Kong is in charge of the whole company.
I hope we don't go too far Candy Kong with the Rule 34.
Responsible for the
So we don't have King K. Rool. King K. Rool is not our main bad guy.
straight down to
It's a bit of a shame, but he looks cool. I like the kind of little mini evil monkey kind of trope. That's cool.
I'm going with DK, so you just stay away.
Aw.
Void Code blocked off
I can't get over how cute she is. She's adorable. Her little pudgy arms. Her little freckles.
DK and
This
his
one, a
pals
squish her
will face to
cheeks.
face with the enemies guarding these routes. So use all the power at your disposal to take on a host of powerful foes.
These are neat. These, yeah, what are these? Are these bosses? They look really neat.
Giant sinkholes will open.
Okay.
clearing a path to the lower layers of
Oh, nice. Oh, so it's a bit like Ratchet and Clank on PS5. Sort of.
found throughout the underground world.
That's
are
cool.
golden bananas called Banandium gems.
Banandium gems.
They're not always visible though.
Ah, I love the Donkey Kong Country music.
And other
So
places.
cool.
There are a whole bunch to find.
Banana.
You can also obtain these gems by completing challenges in the ruins found
Nice.
throughout your adventure.
Let's do this.
Oh, I am so sold.
Include time-limited
I am so
battles.
sold on this. So it's not just open world. You've got challenges and things to do.
You'll need clever solutions.
Little timed things to come back and try and beat your time. That's my jam. Oh, puzzles.
Scrolling stages and
Puzzles like Donkey Kong 94 and side-scrolling barrel stuff like Donkey Kong Country. Sick.
to find the Banandium gems.
Banandium gems. That's going to take a while to get used to. Banandium.
So give them a try.
This is really neat. It's very expansive. There looks like a lot, and of course we have minecart levels, of course. I'm glad how much this is paying homage to the Donkey Kong Country games, being that they were, you know, rare originally, and, you know, allegedly Miyamoto wasn't keen on them back in the day.
These can be used to increase stats,
Okay.
such as your max health,
Okay.
or the destructive power of your
So you have a skill tree.
power up Donkey Kong to match your playstyle.
Hollow is going to be
For
happy.
example, if you strengthen your sonar, you'll be able to detect treasure from further away,
Okay, that's neat.
which could lead to new discoveries.
Yeah.
Or use skill points to learn new skills.
Yeah, so I'm more into learning new skills.
There
That's
are all
cool.
sorts of items to find as you explore. Banandium chips are shaped like slices of banana.
Banandium chips.
And they can be
That was
traded
making
for
me hungry.
gems at the chip exchange. These gold nuggets are
Isn't that like human trafficking? You're talking to a chip to sell him more
exchange
chips.
gold for useful items at the stuff shop.
The stuff shop to buy stuff.
There are fossils too.
Fossils.
You can trade these for different fashions at local style shops.
Nice. Customizable costumes, that's pretty
Just
sweet.
open the closet and customize the perfect fits for Donkey Kong and Pauline.
Heck yeah.
Or even
That's really
change up
fun.
your fur color. No look
Fur
is too
color,
much for
sweet.
Donkey Kong, or too little.
That's pretty cool.
Almost every article
I like the way the
includes
fur has like lots of separate bits and move around, but it's not a full kind of hair furry shader. It's like a stylized fur.
If you find a treasure chest buried in the ground, crack it open, and you might receive a treasure map showing the location of Banandium gems or fossils.
Oh, that's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. I like that.
Pretty helpful for finding collectibles.
Nice.
You can also see which
Oh,
fossils
actual
and
fossils.
Banandium gems
Genuine fossils. Okay,
make
that's
it
cool.
easy to
I'm a
see
big
how
dinosaur
far to
guy.
completion.
That's very neat.
There's plenty more
With
to
Animal
do
Crossing, I got
when
obsessed with finding all the fossils and building up my museum.
Space and enjoy a getaway where you can recover
The
and
getaway.
and enjoy listening to tunes with the music player.
Okay, nice, nice, nice.
You might even find new discs when defeating enemies.
Sweet, sweet, good. Don't make it a microtransaction, just make it stuff you find.
Moving between layers, subterranean eels have your back. These elevators will help you easily move between layers you visited at any time.
Okay, that's cool. So there is fast
Once you
travel.
get
Nice.
lost, no need to worry. You can always teleport within the layer you're currently exploring.
Teleport there.
Teleport. Should we teleport there?
In photo mode, you can
God, I love these
in-game
beaches.
camera angle and adjust other settings to snap
Colors are
pics.
so vibrant.
Get a photo like
Seems like
this.
more and more games nowadays include a photo mode.
Unleash your inner shutterbug and create
Personally, I
your
don't
own
get it, but
captivating
I know loads of people really do.
by sharing a Joy-Con 2 controller or using
And
a
I'm sure it
you
helps
and a friend can
with
control
social media
Donkey
promotion of the
Kong Pauline
games.
separately.
That was original Donkey Kong music there, I like it.
As Pauline, you can unleash vocal blasts using
Oh, those are
Joy-Con 2
neat.
mouse controls. You can also copy the material of nearby
I like those
terrain
vocal
to give your
blasts, that's
vocals
very
even
neat.
more texture.
So this is a second player can control Pauline. That's going to be cool for,
Stand a chance.
you know, younger brothers or playing with kids. Yeah, that's cool.
This game also supports game share. Even
Game
if only
share,
one
yeah.
player has the game,
Yeah.
they can quickly share it to another player so they can join on their own system.
Can you share with a Switch?
It can also
Yes,
be
you
shared
can.
with the
Amazing.
Nintendo Switch system.
That's really cool.
Plus, you can play online between Nintendo Switch 2 systems using game share.
That's very, very
and
cool.
game chat.
I like the fact they're not forcing all family members to buy a Switch too.
If you need a little help with all the platforming action, assist mode is the way to play. It
Okay,
guides you in the right
nice to
direction,
have accessibility options,
halves the damage you receive,
right?
and more. Assist mode supports you in your adventure to be the best Kong you can be.
Okay, that's nice.
Outside
Nice
of
for
the
those who need
menu,
it.
there's a mode where you can carve
Options are
stones
good.
using mouse controls called DK Artist. Rotate to paint.
It's kind of fun. Can you actually carve? Yes, you can change the shape. Wow.
Or add some back on.
So it's like a 3D modeling package.
You can even change the lighting and add delectable banana effects.
Dude, that's sick. But what's the point in it?
Give it a try and sculpt to your heart's content.
Yeah, but what do you do once you've built something? That's sick. That's really, really cool. But what's it for?
It also supports amiibo accessories.
Amiibos, okay.
New Donkey Kong and Pauline
Oh,
amiibo
I do
for
kind of
your
want that
soul
with the
also
cute little
available.
Pauline.
Scanning it unlocks Pauline's Diva Dress.
Diva dress.
By scanning the Donkey Kong series amiibo shown here,
We have
gold
Diddy.
Kong tiles with
Diddy and...
explosive
Oh, there's
power
Diddy and
will
Dixie in the background. Diddy and Dixie are in the game.
Amiibo
Diddy and
released up to
Dixie
this point
confirmed.
is also compatible.
I genuinely thought they weren't going to be there.
You'll get giant spheres like these.
It looks like they won't be playable, but at least they're there. They're in universe confirmed. Can we please get them added to Mario Kart then? Why isn't Diddy in Mario Kart? And Dixie. I don't care about Kitty.
More than anything.
Oh, this is nice, with lyrics to the original Donkey Kong tune. That's sweet.
We can make it more than a dream.
These are new. We haven't had this before, have we? We haven't ever had lyrics to that song before, have we? God, this is like a Pixar trailer. It's really like...
Join the powerful Donkey Kong and the talented singer Pauline as they set out on an adventure to the fabled
I can't get over these graphics. They're fantastic. Oh, there's Diddy and Dixie on Rambi. What? No. Oh man, I am so sold.
Donkey Kong
Is that the end?
Bananza.
Is that the end?
Available July
Yeah,
17th
I am
only
so
on
sold, and we
Switch
have
2.
so much to talk about.
Pre-orders are available
Okay,
now at
okay,
Nintendo
okay, okay.
eShop.
I'm...
Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo
Yeah, I need that
also
amiibo. It's
available
probably going to be
July
way
17th.
overpriced. Probably going to be way overpriced. I'm horrified by the price of amiibos nowadays, but I need that. Sick. Okay. I am so impressed with that direct. That direct was so much better than the Mario Kart direct, which basically told us nothing. Wow, guys. So, back to me now. As you just heard, I was extremely impressed and frankly surprised. You may have picked up from the beginning of this episode, audio I uploaded earlier today if you were watching the separate clips on YouTube, but I was very apprehensive about this direct and the game in general. I was excited for a new Donkey Kong game and a new 3D platformer from Nintendo in general, but given the possibility for the destruction mechanic and more open world-ish elements to cause many of the same problems that I have with Mario Kart World, in a way I just wished that they'd gone with a more traditional N64-style, collectathon, retro-style platform game. I was concerned that there is too much riding on this game to take the big risks. And the Mario Kart Direct presentation that we had just before launch was a bit of a wet squib, and many people were disappointed with it. So I wasn't sure, but I can confidently say that this was a fire presentation. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10. If you couldn't tell by my voice when reacting, I was genuinely blown away, and it just kept getting better and more expansive. And this just looks like, if this had been a launch day title, many of us naysayers would have shut our damn mouths and just enjoyed playing the game. Unlike Mario Kart World, in my opinion, this looks like an actual system seller and actual value for money. If this had been the $80 game and Mario Kart had been $70, watching this direct, I would have gone, okay, yeah, I can see why this is $80. I can see why this is definitely worth my money. It just looks so expansive, and I'm going to spend so much time deep diving into everything and trying to 100% everything and fiddling about with all of the different mechanics and the sculpting and the collecting and the skill point. Oh my god. This is what actual freedom means. Nintendo. Not, okay, we have some really, really, really good tracks, and then we joined them together with really lackluster, boring, empty areas, and we're going to force you to race them all the time in between the actually fun parts. No, this looks like it's expansive, it's well thought out, and it gives people the freedom to play the game how they want to play. My God, it looks great. Perhaps I'm being cynical, but I feel like this game was ready for launch, and Nintendo could have released it on launch day. I've got no evidence to say that. It's just a very strong feeling I have given their other decisions and what Nintendo have done historically with launch periods as well. They could have released it for launch day, in my opinion, probably, but they delayed the release on purpose to pad out the release schedule, as they don't have too many first-party games to release this year. As I said in the earlier part of this episode, or in the separate video if you're listening to the separated parts, they don't have the luxury that they had with the Switch 1 of being able to re-release Wii U games, and they're basically first-party games that are excellent and feel like brand new games to most people, because most people didn't experience the Wii U. They don't have that luxury here. And let's be honest, big first-party games like this, and like Mario Kart, and like the presumably new Mario and Zelda, and probably other series titles that we have coming up, they take a lot of time and resources to develop and to perfect. So it's not surprising that we won't be having too many AAA first-party games, certainly not one a month. But that is essentially what people were used to for the first 3 or 4 years of the Switch 1. So it makes sense in a way to delay the release just slightly. So this game wasn't released on launch day, but I honestly feel it kind of hurt them. However, I think if you are a long-time Nintendo fan who has been on the fence and waiting to get a Switch well, yeah, this looks like the game that will convince most of those people to just put down the $500+ I mean, realistically, it's more like 700, 800, isn't it, by the time you factor in everything you need to get the most out of it. Immediately after rendering and uploading my reaction video, I started to prepare this third part, and I just autistically started scribbling down a million notes. I am autistic, by the way, if that's not obvious from how much I talk and care about these little details. So I don't mean it in an offensive way. I just mean I'm hyper-focused and super enthusiastic about this one thing right now. But the more I look at them, the more I realize that I need to collate it all properly, and it will take several full-length episodes to fully do this justice and dissect and reflect. Even just talking about the story and the lore can be a video in itself. We don't usually get that deeper story in a Mario Universe game. Even in the RPGs, Miyamoto famously asked why the Paper Mario series would even need a story. But there is so much here, and I am living for it. We have a proper backstory for Pauline, albeit with a confusing timeline, but I already have theories for that. And an origin for New Donk City. This is an origin. This is a prequel to Mario Odyssey, right? Clearly. It's confusing with Cranky Kong as to, okay, so this is a prequel for Odyssey, but it happens after the original arcade, but Pauline was in the original arcade as an adult, again, question mark. But again, I have theories, but I'm not going to get into that now, because again, that can be a whole episode. I mean, I was afraid now that obviously Nintendo didn't do the right thing and didn't buy Rare when they had the chance, and now it's Microsoft, and most of the original people from from the golden era are now at Playtonic. Or I was afraid that the Rare games would be kind of brushed over. And as I mentioned earlier, Miyamoto reports the biggest fan of the DKC series, even though he's kind of walked that back and apologized since, and Nintendo have now gone full in with the Donkey Kong areas in the Universal theme park, and Donkey Kong and other Kongs being a big part of the Super Mario Brothers movie, not the 90s Bob Hoskins disaster, which I kind of love. I'm doing a video on that, let me know. But the recent on Donkey Kong, other Kongs. but I was kind of afraid the Rare games would be brushed over a bit and we'd lose all the other Kongs. Diddy not being in Mario Kart made me fearful that he wouldn't be here either. I'm hoping that he's just going to be an obvious fan favorite character that gets included in DLC or probably a free update later. But Diddy's here. And Dixie and Cranky and Ramsey, and frankly, this looks like a spiritual successor to both Kong Country games and Rare's 3D platformers like Banjo-Kazooie, Tooie, Conker, and of course Donkey Kong 64. As far as the gameplay, there are so many new mechanics and variety in gameplay that, again, I think that's its own episode. And that's not even getting into the weird but pretty expensive-looking kind of esoteric stuff. The building, sculpting, costumes and customization, amiibo stuff, which was a surprise to me, but also kind of pretty cool in how it's implemented. And again, I have some theories. Like, basically what I'm saying is, if you are as passionate about this as I am, and you really want to hear someone who is in the industry and been full into Nintendo since the early 80s. I mean, heck, I was born the same year as Donkey Kong, and who classifies multiple Donkey Kong games, not just Mario platformers, but Donkey Kong games as well, in his favorite games of literally all time. Really go ham on breaking this all down and growing in constant hype until the eventual launch day. I will be frothing at the mouth. Well, if you aren't already, you need to subscribe to the channels and the full podcast, and also come join the new free members area where we can discuss all of this and more. You can share ideas and requests for future episodes, reviews and deep dives. And where I'll be doing monthly giveaways of Nintendo toys, official Nintendo Gacha stuff, absolutely free. Linktree/DailySwitch2, that's linktr.ee/DailySwitch2. So I need to get on with preparing what we're going to do next. And honestly, guys, I'm excited for this. But thank you for being here with me on the day one for the Direct. And honestly, this has been great, and I can't wait to do more directs in the future. Did you like the kind of live reaction part? I know that's going to be maybe a bit awkward for the listeners on Spotify, but obviously these directs only come up very rarely, only maybe 2 or 3 a year, and they're going to be they're always important. They give us so much to talk about. So if you are a Spotify listener or another audio-only platform, maybe consider go checking it out on YouTube as well. Again, all the links, linktree/DailySwitch2. Thank you very much. God, I want to keep talking, but I know that this is going to be a long video and it's going to take a long time to render. So I'm going to force myself to stop here, and then while it's rendering and uploading, I'm going to instantly start working on more videos, more episodes. Okay. But phew, we made it. We made it to the end of the Direct, and I think, frankly, it went a hell of a lot better than most people, myself included, were expecting. What a game. What a game, and a perfect presentation. Congratulations, Nintendo. Yes, more of this, please. 10 out of 10. Love it.